Hello there my dear friends and welcome back to another very exciting Star Wars video. It is I coming at you once again, your friend and your favourite galactic hostess, Star Wars Meg. And today, we have some fascinating Star Wars updates from around the galaxy. It's been a pretty eventful weekend in terms of Mandalorian and Grogu updates, and go check out my last video for those. But today guys, we're going to focus on some other news, but we will be circling back to Mando. And just before we dive in, please be sure to hit the big subscribe button if you've not done so, ring the bell for notifications. We would be honoured if you would join us. But no more jibber jabber, let's dive straight in. So we're gonna start with a rumour that's been making the rounds for the last couple of days, and I'll be honest with you guys, I don't fully believe it. We've been hearing the same kind of rumour time and again throughout all of 2025. And what is it? Skeleton Crew might be getting a second season. Now look, I'll be the first to put out my hand and say, I absolutely adore this show. Its tone, its characters, its environments. It's one of the most fun stories Disney Star Wars has ever put out, and I would love a season 2. But there's a couple of problems. The first is the question of, is there really a need for a continuation? And secondly, if there were to be a sequel, there would have to be a time jump. And I don't just base this on the fact the actors have grown since the show was filmed, but Jon Watts himself has said, if they were to make another story that follows on from the first, he only wants to come back to these characters when they're a bit older. And honestly, I'll give you my take on this. If they are going to return to Skeleton Crew at some point, it has to be for a deliberate, well-planned reason. And I think the most interesting things of the finale were the children, their futures, the future of Atatin, did they doom themselves by calling upon the New Republic, and of course the future of Jod. And to be honest guys, I think Dave Filoni had plans for them. When Kathleen Kennedy gave her goodbye interview, there was a report saying that Dave's movie's been put on the back burner, but originally it was going to show the future of those characters, of Neil, Wim, Fern and KB. And so in a pretty big way, if Filoni was going to include them in the Mandoverse Endgame movie, as we like to call it, then it recontextualizes some of Jon Watts' comments. Maybe the reason he wants to explore these characters far in the future is because he knows in the short term, they're out of his hands. And I don't want to get any of your hopes up, but I have heard a couple of rumblings, nothing reliable so please don't hold on to this as gospel, that there might be some kind of allusion to Skeleton Crew planets, probably Atatin, in some of the upcoming content. Don't quote me on that, I hope it's true but I don't hold that as a de facto expectation. But returning to today's report my friends, this comes from Production Weekly, which updates the industry on movements in Hollywood and beyond. Sometimes they list projects not because they're actively in production, but it's because they've heard they're in development. And a couple of days ago they listed Skeleton Crew Season 2 and The Mandalorian Season 4. The latter I'm extremely doubtful about, to be honest. Like I've said to you guys in the past, it depends on how the movie performs. But in the last few days, Jon Favreau has alluded to the fact the movie might be the end. There might be nothing Mando after it. If it flops, if it does a terrible box office, with a shift away from the streaming service, there would be no incentive for Disney to renew. But Jon Favreau strongly implies that the movie is going to be his last contribution. He literally said verbatim, The Mandalorian and Grogu is the culmination of all of his Star Wars work. So they're treating it with the mindset that this could very well be the end. As for Skeleton Crew, I've heard some stuff about Jod Narwood. I've heard Lucasfilm is keen on doing something more with Jude Law's character, but I don't know what. We heard rumours of a movie at some point, but those are old rumours, pre-Kathleen Kennedy's exit and not pertaining to the future of Star Wars as we know it, from the standpoint of February 2026. But the one thing Skeleton Crew has going for it is the fact that fans loved it. But despite the warm response from fans and critics alike, Skeleton Crew failed to crack the Nielsen top 10. The first 2 episodes garnered 382 million minutes watched, the lowest of any live-action Star Wars show to date. So Disney's probably looking at this and thinking, is it worth it? Is this something we want to do more with? And that's why I think if we do get some kind of sequel or continuation, it's going to be in a different form. It could be a movie like I say, maybe another Mandoverse project, maybe Ahsoka Season 2, but it's really going to be down to Dave to push for it.
You know, Favreau and I, we loved their idea and just wanted to help support them through it. So it was really fun for me to watch them create this. I just love, the one word for me is adventure. You know, to me it gets back to Star Wars being a fun adventure and reminds me of exactly what you said, the movies I loved growing up. Right. That sense of wonder and excitement of the unknown, and what's possible, and I think a way of capturing it that's actually quite hard and challenging. So, it's I love the way it turned out. I'm so proud of them and excited for people to see it.
But moving on to some other Star Wars news, my friends. While we're still in the realm of the Mandoverse, I want to talk some more about Jon Favreau. His contributions to the Star Wars universe have ranged from incredible to downright strange. And since he's been giving interviews at New York Toy Fair the last couple of days, sound bites have been releasing. I covered some of them in my last video, but there is one which fans are really roasting. Jon Favreau compares his directing of The Mandalorian and Grogu to playing with Star Wars toys. Ooh, you can see why fans are not gonna like this. He says, quote, "That's how I learned to tell stories. You take these characters, you're talking with your friends, and you're acting things out. My job is not that different from that." And the response to this has been, "Yeah, Jon, we know, we can tell." And this criticism is levied towards him ahead of The Mandalorian and Grogu for several reasons. Number one, the fact the movie looks like it's 99% action, and yet we still don't know the plot. And then there's the fact, since Andor Season 2 came to an end, fans have been criticizing other Star Wars projects, describing them as lacking maturity. And I think it's safe to say that the first 2 seasons of Mando, I know I say that a lot, but it's true, have far more mature themes than Season 3. And so fans see a perceived decline, and because The Mandalorian and Grogu's been marketed in a very strange way, there is this ongoing perception that the movie's going to be an even bigger downgrade. I hope that's not the case. I might be foolish to say this, but I'm still holding on to hope. But fans see The Mandalorian and Grogu as a culmination of how a once great show has fallen into decline and has lost the plot. And so fans completely roasted this comment. But building up to the movie, one thing is for certain. There is no charitability anymore, and if the movie isn't anything but amazing, there is going to be such a crazy backlash. The reviews are going to be more brutal than I think we've ever seen since episode 8. They have to get this right. There is no room for anything but excellence. Even if it gets a good box office, I think people are going to really dig into it. And just like the Dave Filoni situation, fans have gone from loving Jon Favreau to saying good riddance, that this might be his final Star Wars project. But even if The Mandalorian and Grogu sucks, I still thank Jon for the first 2 seasons of Mando. But I hope the movie's good. I hope it's going to be amazing. And about the final trailer that's rumoured any day now, my goodness, that has to really impress. It's got to blow fans away. The toys were a good start. I think the merch and some of the new characters look really badass. The new mercenary droid and more Zeb, the snowtroopers, the AT-AT pilots. But the final trailer needs to showcase the best of the movie. Those are just some of my thoughts, my dear friends. We did deviate a bit from Skeleton Crew, but it all connects. It's all part of the Mandoverse. Share your thoughts in the comments down below, my dear friends, and if you enjoyed this update, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and may the Force be with you, always.